Hey there, Roy Furr here with Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, and it's another video issue where I am going to talk to you about one big idea that I get from a book about marketing, copywriting, business building, selling, personal development, and more. And for today's book, I'm going to cover one of the best-selling business books, one of the best-selling personal development books of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And actually, I saw on Amazon that under the business and money category, the audiobook version of this is actually the number 6 selling business book today. And this book was written quite a long time ago, back in the Great Depression, I believe. Originally published in 1936. So there are some powerful principles in this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And it's definitely worth paying attention to, worth reading if you are in business, in marketing, in selling, in any kind of influence profession, or if you just want to connect with people in better ways. And what I love about this book, first off, is that it doesn't resort to gimmicks. It resorts to the core principles of how humans connect with each other, how humans bond, how humans interact, and what makes people who are successful at connecting with other people, at making friends, at influencing people, what makes those people successful. And for that reason, it's a very good book. Also, if you are a copywriter or involved with developing marketing messages, this book is worth studying for a completely different reason. Now, I'm going to get to my one big idea in a moment, but I want to talk to copywriters first, people who develop marketing messages. And I want to talk to you about that because this book, so the story goes that this book actually started off being sold by direct mail with space ads. And by the way, I'm going to include a link to the book on Amazon, the audiobook. I'm going to include a link to the original ad that sold this book, that sold millions of copies through direct mail. And I'll also include a link to my site with this video in the description. But this book was written by Dale Carnegie, but the chapter titles and the title itself are rumored to have been written by famous copywriter Victor Schwab, who also has his own book, How to Write a Good Advertisement, that's worth studying and that will get one of these videos one week. So this book, just How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's an incredible title by itself. In fact, it's so incredible and it does such a selling job for the book that the advertisement itself, the headline is How to Win Friends and Influence People. You don't have to do anything more when you have such a good title. But going through some of the even chapter titles in this, which were, again, rumored to have been written by Vic Schwab, The Big Secret of Dealing with People. He who can do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Do this and you'll be welcome anywhere. A simple way to make a good first impression. If you don't do this, you're headed for trouble. An easy way to become a good conversationalist. How to interest people. How to make people like you instantly. You can't win an argument, a surefire way of making enemies and how to avoid it, and on and on. It is a course in copywriting, a course in appealing to people, a course in piquing people's curiosity with a benefit and some curiosity invoking claim. It's a course in marketing in itself, just reading the book, reading the titles, reading the chapter titles, and so on. And I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't read this book, for all the other reasons, if you're in marketing, if you're in copywriting, if you develop marketing messages, read it for that reason. So with that, let's get to the one big idea, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you were to learn nothing else from this book, this is the big idea. And this is in the chapter, Do This and You'll Be Welcome Anywhere. It's the idea, the principle on which that chapter is based. Become genuinely interested in other people. So what does that mean? How does that make you more interesting? How does that win you friends? And how does that influence people? Well, Number one, it's really easy for us in life to get caught up in our own thoughts, in the loops that go through our head, in the stories that we tell ourselves about situations. And when we do that, we become really disconnected from other people. We lose our connection, and what we deal with in that situation is a bunch of people who are islands unto themselves, walking around, bumping into each other in the world, and never really making a connection. But so we're all the most interested in our own stories. You are the most interested in your own story. I am the most interested in my own story. Everybody, every human being is really caught up in their own heads and really wants to feel heard. They want to feel seen. They want to feel appreciated and accepted for who they are. And this is such a powerful principle of connection, of influence, of persuasion, to really become genuinely interested in other people, because beneath everything else, this is what people want most. They want somebody else to look into their eyes, look into their soul, and connect with them on this deep level. And most people really suck at that. Most people suck at empathy. Most people suck at connection. Most people suck at listening. Most people suck at asking a good question such that the person they're asking the question really wants to share. Most people suck at opening up that space for other people to truly reveal themselves, to be vulnerable in conversation, to connect on a deeper level, not superficial. And if you are the person who can ask those questions, who can connect with people, who can express genuine and heartfelt interest in what makes the other person excited, what makes them tick, what is motivating and inspiring them today, what they're passionate about, what their fears, frustrations, and failures are, what their dreams are, what they desire, what they see as their own personal sense of destiny. If you can connect with people on those levels, and you can genuinely ask them the questions that tell them that it's safe to have those conversations, they will feel connected to you almost instantly on a much deeper level than any conversational tricks or tactics that you might think would show up in a book on how to win friends and influence people. And that's actually why this book is still a bestseller today, nearing 100 years after it was written, because this principle is everlasting, and we are no more connected to each other today. And in fact, I'd argue that often we feel more distant from each other, even as we're able to, instantly update our status on Facebook. And people are thirsting for this connection. Your prospects, if you're speaking to them, are thirsting for this connection. The colleagues, the people you work with, whoever it is, your family, your anybody in your life that is out there, they're all dealing with the same feeling of disconnection, where they're caught in their own heads, and everybody around them is caught in their own heads. And nobody is interested in anybody else's story. And so if you are the rare individual who is actually genuinely interested in other people, you will become far more interesting, because you become that person to whom people feel safe sharing of themselves, opening up. And, it's fascinating. This book was written in 1936, but I've sat in the audience at events where people are, have paid thousands of dollars to hear the speakers speak, and the speakers tell the same lesson. They share that same lesson. They tell their own stories of it. And it's absolutely the case. So if you want to sell more, if you want to influence better, if you want to connect with people, make it your goal not to convey your sales message, not to shove your ideas and your story down their throat, not to get the looping thoughts going on in your head out of your head, but instead ask your prospect why, ask them what they're interested in, ask them what they see as their future, ask them what is important to them, and you will be surprised how far they take that conversation toward whatever product or service you have that solves a problem that they're clearly having the conversation with you to have it solved. And so if you want to become more influential, of course, this book, it's full of more equally valuable lessons, and I would strongly encourage you to get it or reread it or listen to the audiobook version for the first time if you haven't, and get those other principles out of it. Again, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. But you can start today, you can start now, you can start when this video is over by really being willing to step outside of yourself. Let that looping conversation in your head quiet down for a little bit and become genuinely interested in, the cashier at the store, or your Uber driver, or the person who's checking you in at the hotel, or your prospects, or your partner, or your family members and how their day went. Just be willing to set yourself aside and connect with those people. And it's fulfilling for them, and it's fulfilling for you to feel that sense of connection that comes out of that. And I think that if you try that, you will find that it's incredibly powerful as well when it does come time for you to be influential in whatever way. So again, my name is Roy Furr. Again, this is a video issue of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Monday through Thursday, I do essays on copywriting, selling, business building, and more at breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com. There's a link in the video description. And on Fridays, I do these video issues where most often nowadays I break down one big idea from a book that I found important. So with that, again, I will, thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe to me on YouTube or go to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com, subscribe there, and the link for the video, as well as if you're a copywriter or just interested, the original ad that sold millions of copies of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Victor Schwab are in the description with this video. So again, I'm Roy Furr with Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again in our next video.